Hey, welcome to We Need to Talk with Tony Lindsay. I'm going to actually come up with a new name for the podcast, but for now, it's We Need to Talk with Tony. All right. I'm your host, Tony Lindsay. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. I'm now streaming live on Rumble. I'm streaming on YouTube, on X, Instagram, and I'm blocked on Facebook. So they have me permanently like muted on Facebook. So anytime I go live, I can't go live on Facebook anymore because they have me uh permanently locked in. They have me permanently locked in as private. So whenever I go live on Facebook, you guys can't see me. So I'm streaming live on Facebook right now, but unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see me because, of course, censorship is alive and well here still in the United States. So I wanted to talk today about New York politics. Uh, I've been, we're looking at a lot of things on the national stage. We're seeing, everybody's arguing about Trump. Everybody's talking about the Epstein list, all of these other things. But, you know, the most important politics are the politics where you live on the local level. So I want to talk about politics on the local level as it is impacting, well, me and a whole lot of New Yorkers, like a whole lot of people here in New York City, which is kind of serving as like the hub for everything, the economy, culture, this beacon of immigration. It's just like everything is focused on New York City right now. So I wanted to get into it. Hey, Alice. Alice, is that Bonnie? Hey, I tried to see your Facebook and no, yeah, right. Yeah. They have me totally censored on Facebook. So yeah. And I'm also streaming over here on TikTok right next to me, but we all know that TikTok is also a highly censored app. The reason why I do my podcast here on Rumble is because I'm able to speak freely on this platform. Rumble and X are the only two platforms that allow you uh, they protect your right to to speech. You can say what you want to say without fear of being like suspended or punished for dissenting with the status quo or with the going narrative. So it's very important that we start investing into these platforms that protect our right to free speech. So anyway, I'm going to get right into it. We're going to talk about our current mayoral race. A lot of you guys saw that Zoran Mamdani is leading currently in the polls. He kind of blew out Andrew Cuomo in the Democrat primaries, and there's a reason for that, and I want to kind of dig into that a little bit. But I wanted to start by just playing a little bit of the interviews that he recently did. Just to give you guys a background on Zoran Mamdani, he's an immigrant. He came to the United States at the age of 7. He got his citizenship, I think, in 2018. He's from Uganda. He's of Indian parents. They're from India, but he was born and I guess brought up in Uganda until the age of 7, where he got his citizenship here in the United States at the age of well, how old? I don't know how old he is, but in 2018, that's when he got his citizenship. His campaign is somewhat marred in controversy. If you guys remember, there was a mayoral debate where all of the mayoral candidates were asked, hey, what's going to be the first trip that you take, as mayor? And of course, everyone was like, I'm going to the Holy Land. I'm going to Israel. On my 5th trip to Israel. Yes, Israel. Hey, I'm Israel. And Zoran Mamdani was like, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here in New York. And I'm just going to focus on New Yorkers. And so that became a viral moment. And it connected with a lot of people, particularly, especially here in New York City, right? Because there are a lot of people who have serious issues with Israel, the Israeli government's actions in Gaza, with their ethnic cleansing and what many will argue to be a genocide. And so that is something that has touched a lot of young people today, especially when knowing that the United States has been, funding it and economically backing Israel. And there's a sentiment that that our politicians, our elected officials, are beholden to the Israeli government. And so that connected with a lot of people. There's been a lot of protests. We know that there's been a lot of protests here in New York City for Palestinians, and so especially on college campuses. So Zoran Mamdani, he basically had an army of people behind him. So he came with a populist message, right? But the thing is, he spoke to a lot of the concerns that a lot of our young people in particular have, but his solutions, I would argue, are not realistic, and I would even say they are dangerous. And so I want to dig into that a little bit now. This is not a biased podcast. I'm not trying to tell you what to think. The only thing I do is I encourage people to think. And so I'm going to start. I want to play a little bit of what Zoran had to say, because, man, he's just doing the media tour. Ever since they saw that a self-proclaimed socialist won the nomination, everybody's brain is exploding. Like, everybody's in panic mode, from Republicans to establishment Democrats who are not supporting him. I mean, Kathy Hochul has not endorsed him. Hakeem Jeffries has not endorsed him. A lot of prominent Democrats here in New York City or New York State, they just have not endorsed him. In fact, the only person that I know of that has endorsed him is AOC. So let's just play a little bit of what he had to say when he went on, I think it was Meet the Press. So let me just I'm going to cue this up for you guys so you guys can hear a little bit about his policies.
Welcome back. A stunning political upset this week in the race to lead America's biggest city. 33-year-old Democratic Socialist and New York State Assemblyman Zoran Mamdani is poised to win the Democratic primary for New York City, beating out former Governor Andrew Cuomo. He's now set to head to the general election, but his likely primary win is already sending shockwaves through the Democratic Party. And joining me now is Zoran Mamdani. Mr. Mamdani, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. There is so much to discuss.
Oh, yeah.
We have to start with your remarkable victory in the primary for mayor. You're 33 years old. As I just said, you started out at close to 0% in the polls, Mr. Mamdani. You came back to topple one of the biggest names in New York politics.
And you know how he did that, right? Where he went from 0% in the polls to taking down Andrew Cuomo. It was all from a viral moment. This actually shows you the power of social media, which is why I'm such a staunch advocate for free speech, for, getting rid of all of this censorship that is happening from big tech platforms, because clearly whoever gets the clicks, whoever gets the views, whoever gets to promote that content, they clearly are the ones who can swing the narrative and the public sentiment.
Andrew Cuomo, what was the secret to your success? Do you think it was your message? Do you think that voters were voting against Andrew Cuomo?
Emotion.
A little bit of both? How do you see it?
I think ultimately it was the focus on the fact that we live in the most expensive city in the United States of America. It's also the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. And yet 1 in 4 New Yorkers are living in poverty. And the rest are seemingly trapped in a state of anxiety. And what we've seen is that this is a city that needs to be affordable for the people who build it every day. Our focus was on exactly that. And by keeping that focus on an economic agenda, we showed New Yorkers that this could be more than just a museum of what once was. It could be a living, breathing testament to possibility.
Now, that sounded nice. That sounded beautiful, sounded pretty. But what's more important than him saying that he understands that we're feeling the economic crunch is his policies. Remember that, folks. What matters at the end of the day is policy.
Well, let me ask you about what I was just discussing with Senator Chris Murphy. The fact that you have leader Schumer, leaders Hakeem Jeffrey, who wrote very nice things about your victory, said you'd won a very strong campaign, have not endorsed you. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has endorsed you. Do you think the Democratic establishment is afraid of you?
I think that people are catching up to this election. This is an election that went against so much of the analysis that had been told about our party and where we needed to head to. And ultimately, what we're showing is that by putting working people first, by returning to the roots of the Democratic Party, we actually have a path out of this moment where we're facing authoritarianism in Washington, D.C.
Well, let's talk about your policies, your vision for this city. Here are some of the things you've proposed: free buses, rent stabilized housing, a $30 minimum wage, creation of city-owned grocery stores. It's a very long list of proposals. So let me ask you, if you were to be elected the next mayor of New York, what would your day one priority be?
The first thing is living up to these promises that I've made, because I've made them because I intend to keep them. And in a city of about 8.5 million people, close to 2.5 million New Yorkers live in rent-stabilized housing. The mayor, through a board called the Rent Guidelines Board, sets whether or not those rents increase or stay the same. The previous mayoral administration froze the rent 3 times. This one, led by Mayor Adams, increased it by 9%. So the first thing that I would...
Okay, so you heard him say what the previous administration did. That's the Bill de Bozo administration. Do y'all remember the economy under Bill de Bozo? Do y'all remember the state of the city under Bill de Blasio? I mean, that's his reference point that he's using right now, that Bill de Blasio implemented rent freezes. The worst mayor in the history of New York City implemented rent freezes. Now, I know it sounds nice to some folks when you hear rent freeze, but the impact will be devastating, especially to those of you who rent in New York City. And I'll break that down a little bit.
Would do is start to constitute a board that votes in reflection of reality. And the reality I'm speaking of is that the median household income of those tenants is $60,000 a year. The landlords of those units have seen their profits increase by 12%. It's time for relief for working class New York.
The landlords have seen their profits increase by 12%. Oh my God. But what he fails to tell you is that those profits have increased by 12% after being frozen for 4 years.
Okay, well, of course, the big question is, how are you going to pay for it? You've proposed increasing taxes on wealthier New Yorkers. The Democratic governor, though, of your state, Kathy Hochul, says she's not going to support increasing taxes in order to get it across the finish line. I want to let you take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say recently and respond on the other side. Here she is.
Yep.
I'm not raising taxes on people at a time when affordability is the big issue. I'm actually cutting middle class taxes.
Even on the wealthy.
I don't want to lose any more people to go to Palm Beach. We've lost enough.
How?
Yeah, I'm one of those people I'm not going to Palm Beach, but I'm headed down to Florida. Let's hear the solution, though.
How are you going to raise taxes if you can't get Democrats to support it?
So I think what we've shown over the last 8 months is our ability to take that which is considered a non-starter and make it seem inevitable. We've shown that with this campaign. And ultimately, we're seeing that our vision to tax the top 1% of New Yorkers, these are New Yorkers who make $1 million a year or more, and our proposal is to just tax them by 2% additional, is something that has broad support and will continue to increase that support over the next few months and years.
So you think you're going to be able to twist Governor Hochul's arm and get her to support raising taxes? I mean, what about the fact that she says she's concerned New Yorkers might leave? They might go to Florida.
I think it's time for a leadership that doesn't twist arms, but rather builds partnership. And I'm looking forward to having that with the governor, because ultimately my policies, my vision, it's driven by an assessment of what's actually happening. The Fiscal Policy Institute found that the top 1% of New Yorkers leave at 1/4 the rate of other income groups. And when they do leave, it's actually to other states considered high tax, New Jersey, California. So it's not fiscal policy, it's quality of life. And ultimately, the reason I want to increase these taxes on the top 1%, the most profitable corporations, is to increase quality of life for everyone, including those who are going to be taxed.
Here's how
Those people cover the majority of income taxes here in New York. These policies will chase them out. I know it's an inconvenient truth. A lot of people don't want to hear that. But as someone who has been in the real estate investment game, and as someone who speaks to people in the business community, I know, I mean, I don't know, like, people don't understand, like, all of the alarms are ringing right now, and people are packing up and preparing. They're getting ready to vacate New York City, specifically because Zohran Mamdani, the signal that he's sending with his policies, they're quite unappealing and unfavorable to the wealthy New Yorkers who do pay the majority of the taxes here. So all of his policies, they do require raising taxes on, it raises taxes. But let me ask you this question. If your policies, even though he can't even implement these policies, and this is the thing that's confusing to me, because he's a state assembly member. He should have been fighting for this stuff as an assembly member. This is not anything that he can do as mayor. So I don't even understand why he's even trying to make these promises. So, but you know, if those policies, let's say they magically succeeded and he gave everyone a magic pill, and Hochul or every person, they were like, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. And then you have that 1%, you have those wealthy New Yorkers move out of New York and go to Texas. You see the heavy out, the heavy mass migration out of places like California and New York City to Texas and Florida, and also even Tennessee. Like, you're seeing a massive outflow of residents into those areas. So what happens when they leave? How are you going to pay for these policies? You know who's going to have to pay for it? You, the middle class and poor, the taxpayers. But it's going to heavily fall on the middle class, particularly private homeowners who live here in New York City, who pay about 40% of all of the tax revenue here.
The Washington Post editorial board wrote about your proposals. They say a massive minimum wage would depress low-skilled employment. His rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality.
Okay, I want to break that down. His rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality. I hope you guys need to understand this, right? Because we already have a housing shortage, and much of that housing shortage is due to the warehousing of the rent stabilized units across the city. Now, these are like in these 50 family buildings, 20 family, they're warehousing, meaning they're keeping those apartments off of the market. Now, why are they doing that? In many cases, in New York, we have these rent stabilization laws where you're only allowed to increase rent by X amount per year. And so what happens is you have people that have been in like the same apartment for the past 40 years, and they're paying like $900 a month. And so you have the owners of these massive buildings that they have all of these rent stabilized folks in here that they can't evict, they can't get them out, and they're paying the cheapest amount of rent. But when someone does finally move out, what happens? You're only allowed to charge X amount in rent. So now you got to do this big ass renovation of this place. In many cases, it may cost you up to $100,000. Who's going to spend $100,000 to renovate an entire space and then rent the shit out for $1,100 a month? It's a loss. It becomes a tax write-off. So these people are not going to put that on the market where they're just going to continue to lose money. So what do? They've been withholding these units from the market. What does that do when they keep all of these off of the market? It decreases the supply of available housing, of available apartments. Now let's go to the basic law of supply and demand. When you have a lower supply, what does that do? It increases the demand, and therefore it increases what? The rent. So by them withholding this supply of housing, it is driving the cost of rent up. Now, Zohran Mamdani is coming in and promising to take us back to what Bill DeBozo did. And Bill DeBozo oversaw the largest increase in rents. So what he's going to do now is double down on the policy that it is going to lead to more warehousing of apartments, and not even out of spite, because I mean, realistically speaking, if you're in business, if you're a business owner, you're in it to make money, right? You're in it to get profit. New York City in particular has the worst, most biased, archaic, anti-landlord, super pro-tenant landlord-tenant laws in the country, where it it facilitates every bad actor to come here. They can just come squat in your apartment, stay in there, not pay any rent, and it'll take you years to get them out. This is not a friendly place for anyone in real estate. So to say that you're going to impose these taxes on these people, you're going to freeze rent, meaning cutting off profit, what is the incentive to continue to invest in New York City? I just want us to think about this logically here. I want us to understand exactly what Zoran is promising. Now, he seems like a very intelligent young man, which leads me to believe that he's being disingenuous in the things that he is espousing, and he is playing to the emotions of people who are now vulnerable because of the state of the economy in New York City, where more than half of our residents cannot afford to live here. So I wanted to give you guys a better context to understand some of the root causes of the shortage in housing stock that for some reason our elected officials continue to scapegoat to small private homeowners of 1 and 2 families all across the outer boroughs, the same people who are paying all these property taxes that are funding our schools and the sanitation and the infrastructure that everyone enjoys. Let's continue.
Cutting bus fares would leave a transit funding hole that, unless somehow filled, would erode service. Meanwhile, the grocery business operates on thin margins, and his plan for city-run stores would probably lead to fewer options, poor service, and shortages. Mr.
That's a lot to unpack. Free buses, government-run grocery stores, which is extremely problematic. Like this, it's oh my God. That's a lot to cover, but let's just hear what his answer is so I don't just talk over.
Mamdani, are your proposals going to hurt the very people you're trying to help?
Not at all. There have been many in editorial board who have had concerns, and what we've shown is that more than 400,000 New Yorkers are excited about this vision. And the reason they're excited about it is one that is in line with the scale of the crisis in the city.
The reason they're excited about it is because they don't understand the imminent danger that those policies present. That's why they're excited. And I'm sad to say the majority of those people who are excited about this, they just do not have the political aptitude to understand exactly what you're promising them and how unrealistic it is.
I mean, we are talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose this city. And our proposals are ones that are thought out. They are ones that are also clearly going to be funded by these revenue streams. I'll give you an example.
How?
When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of 1 grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas. We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting.
What?
And finally, it costs less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidies.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got to stop this again because, when you hold these claims up to scrutiny, they don't pass the smell test at all. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to show you guys. I'm going to show you right here. Because, damn, I hate when people do that. Like, I think when these people say these things, they just assume that no one is going to check it out, right? No one's going to look into it. Well, okay, so you know what? I'm not even gonna go through it now. The model that he's talking about, the pilot program, what they attempted in Chicago, it failed. See, he left that out. It failed. It was an abysmal failure. And I want to show you what he's talking about with the Kansas model. He's talking about St. Paul Supermarket. And I'm just going to show it to you. I want to walk you through it because I just think, we all should, scrutinize all of these things that are being said, right? So let me see if I can get this on the big screen. Okay, so it's St. Paul Supermarket. It was a city. All right, let's go here. This is what they're talking about. I'm trying to open it up so you guys can see the whole thing. All right. In 2006, newly elected mayor, blah, 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 had a vision to open a grocery store. let's just go straight to the reason why. There had not been a grocery store in town for nearly 2 decades. The St. Paul grocery store had for generations operated out of a building located on the town's historic Main Street closed. That closure left only the St. Paul Cafe and a local convenience store as places to purchase food in town. Access to access groceries such as fresh meat, fruit, vegetables, and dairy, the St. Paul residents had to make the 34-mile round trip to the nearest full-service supermarket. Okay, so let's go back to Mr. Mamdani, because I think this is very important, and he left that out of his explanation. The reason why they had that city-run grocery model was because there was no food available. That's right, because the local government was filling a need, meaning that there was no access to groceries. And so they came together and they made the citizens voted on it, and then it graduated into a co-op model where there was actually community member ownership in it. I think there was only like 600 people in that town. You see the difference? You see the difference? What Zoran Mamdani is proposing is to set up city-run, government-run grocery stores in places where we already have grocery stores, where we have local bodegas, delis, grocery stores. So what does that do when you now put in a government-run grocery store, which has no profit incentive, by the way, to compete with these local businesses, many of them owned by immigrants who came to this country seeking a better life? You're now forcing them to compete with a grocery store that has no profit incentive. It starts with one in each borough. It always takes the first step, folks. Do we understand this? Now, let's say he manages to just make the whole city run grocery stores. Listen what this guy says. Somebody just let me put this on this big screen. No profit incentive. I guess Meat Lube, weird name. He meant to say he loves that there's no profit incentive. So you love that there's no profit incentive. So you're saying you want socialism. So you want, when there's no profit incentive. Let me challenge you. If there is no profit incentive, where is, and if they become the primary source, as they will, because there's no profit incentive, right? So you're gonna go straight to them. When they get this ownership, when they take over, what is their incentive to provide you with better quality? I'd argue, what is their incentive to provide you with better quality groceries even now? If there's no profit incentive, what's the incentive to give you good quality food? And as this spreads and they start to shut down all of these businesses that were set up that provide better quality food, once they shut them down and all you got left is your government-run grocery stores, who's to stop them from charging you whatever the hell they want? Meat Lube, interesting name, says caring for your citizens that don't have access to good quality food. It'll keep local grocers from overcharging. No, it'll send them out of business. It's basic economics. It'll send them out of business. And the problem I have with this guy's politics is it demonizes people who actually who work hard, they become successful. The one thing I don't like about these politics, right, is when I know my goal is not to be poor. My goal is to succeed. I think that's the American dream. People want to work hard. They want to reap the fruit of their labor. They want to make profit. They want to be successful. They want to be wealthy. But when you vote for something that is putting everyone on even keel, everyone has the same outcome, no matter how much work they put in, and people are punished for getting ahead, then we have a real problem. Because that sounds like communism to me. But let's keep going.
Subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee of collective bargaining agreements, or that they accept SNAP or WIC.
Well, you take me to my next question about grocery stores. Some executives, including one of the top grocery stores owners, billionaires, threatening to shut down his supermarket in the city. John Catsimatidis, who runs Gristedes grocery chain. You're probably very familiar with him. He said this on election day, quote, "If the city of New York is going socialist, I will definitely close or sell or move or franchise the Gristedes locations." In order to run New York City successfully as mayor, do you not need the support of a billionaire businessman like John Catsimatidis?
I would ask you guys, do you believe that we need these people here? Or would you prefer to chase them out and have the government run everything and provide you with everything? Have the government provide you with social, with welfare. Have the government provide you with housing. Have the government provide you with food, grocery stores. Y'all don't see what's happening here?
I don't know if I need his support specifically, but I want to make clear that my vision for this city is a vision for every single New Yorker, including business leaders across the city. And the reason I say that is that my proposals, even the ones to increase the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, are ones that would also benefit.
Which you cannot do.
Those business leaders. Because when I have conversations with them, what I also hear is the just how expensive this city is preventing them from attracting and retaining the talent they need to grow their business. And ultimately, I'm looking forward to having those meetings, having those sit downs to make.
Nah, bro. You know who's vulnerable in New York City? And this is what bothers me. And it's not just him. It's all of them. They talk about, I listen to the people, and this city is hurting and they're struggling, and I want to protect the most vulnerable. Bro, when I tell you, we are seeing the greatest attack on the middle class probably in the history of this city. If you are a private homeowner in New York City, if you drive a car, you own a home, you work, you're literally being kicked out of New York City. And when you try to talk to your elected officials about this, they literally ignore you. They ignore you. This is crazy. Every policy that we are living under in New York City is hostile to middle-class New Yorkers who own anything, who run a small business, anyone who is entrepreneurial, anyone who is trying to make some sort of money to survive and stay above water. All of these policies are hostile. And I understand. And here's the thing. When it comes to, renters and tenants, yes, absolutely, we need to protect them. But you cannot do that at the expense of owners. You can't do this by demonizing people who own things. People who work hard and they invest their money and they achieve a certain amount of success. You can't just go around continuously demonizing these people and convincing the people, a lot of folks who ain't really doing nothing for themselves, that their problems are all the fault of someone who's wealthier than you. And that's the problem that I have, because it disincentivizes the hard work and the motivation and the drive to succeed. It breeds a sense of entitlement, which is all I continue to see. And I'm sorry, Zohran Mamdani don't come from these streets. He doesn't know what it's like to struggle here in New York City. He lives a very privileged life. He's a child of millionaires. Why is it that all of these movements for poor people and the disenfranchised are always led by millionaires backed by billionaires. No one questions that. I'm going to just play a little bit more, then I'm going to go to another candidate.
Clear why this vision would benefit all.
We went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed. We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
And I understand you're saying we're simply describing the types of neighborhoods that would see these increase in taxes. And yet by invoking race, do you run the risk of potentially alienating key constituents?
I think I'm just naming things as they are. And ultimately, the thing that motivates me in this is to create a system of fairness. It is not to work backwards from a racial assessment of neighborhoods or our.
You know what's interesting about his policies? It's not just him, though. You see this with the DSA, the Democrat Socialists of America. You know, when you look at their politics, you would say, wow, these people, you know, they have this benevolence about them. You know, they want to do things based on charity and they want to help other people. They want to push these socialist policies. But this socialist policies, what they do is they actually exacerbate the disparities. It accelerates the wealth inequality. It accelerates those people who were the remaining people in the middle. It sends them straight to the bottom. And it preserves the status of those who are in that position comfortably, where they have enough wealth, where they can dictate these policies because it's not really going to affect them. Those are the transplants. Those are the gentrifiers who come into New York and try to tell you, hey, we're going to build something brand new here in this neighborhood where nothing ever existed. What? What about the residents? What? Matter of fact, I'm gonna play a clip for y'all to see, because I want you to understand how these gentrification politics are destroying the lifeblood of New York City and kicking out New Yorkers. This is why New Yorkers are leaving, bro. The more you have this mass influx of ultra wealthy, you have these transplants coming from different parts of the country who are bringing their politics with them while they are destroying the city and exacerbating the economic disparities. The people who are lifelong New Yorkers, they see the writing on the wall and they're out. They're leaving. So while you have more New Yorkers leaving the city because they can't deal with the bullshit anymore, you have more crazy people coming in. And so when people say, damn, why do New Yorkers keep voting for the same thing over and over and over again? Because it's not the same people. Hold on. So Craig says, I think people are looking for change, even if they don't understand the full implications of the change. The current model we have now is not working for anyone, honestly. I agree with that 100%. 1000%. That is exactly the message that I'm saying. And the problem is people like Zohran Mamdani, I'm sorry, and listen, and Bernie Sanders, I was a Bernie supporter too. You see, when you're a populist, the one good thing about populist candidates is that they really know how to appeal to the sentiment of the populace. They appeal to the sentiment of the people. And the thing is, it feels good when you hear them say these things because they're speaking to those concerns. They're telling the truth. But what I'm trying to say, man, is the most damaging results, the worst harms will be committed with the best of intentions, if that is what he's doing, if that is best of intentions. Because personally, I think he's too smart. I think he's smart enough to know that the things that he's promising are going to lead to destruction of this city. And I don't know the guy personally, but I'm just saying that he has to be smarter than this. Because what I hear is someone who is placating people, someone who is speaking to the pain that people are feeling and presenting them with a false solution, something that will actually hurt those people even more. And that's the danger that I see in this campaign. This has nothing to do with him being a Muslim or all that other like jihad bullshit that people are saying. I don't get involved with that dumb racist shit and all. I don't have time for that bullshit. The problem that I have is he is a part of a generation that I would argue was betrayed by my generation, by the boomers, through us subscribing to politics that have pretty much left these generations stuck, where they can't even envision what we once understood to be the American dream, where, you know, what was our dream? You want to buy a house, you want to get married, you want to have 2-3 kids, you want to have a pet, white picket fence, or a nice car. No one can envision that anymore. In New York City, you can make 6 figures and you're still sharing an apartment. You still have a roommate because you cannot afford to live here. You cannot afford to own anything. And we're creating a permanent rental society where you will own nothing and be happy. Y'all ever heard that before? You will own nothing and be happy. Look up that quote. And so while it may sound nice, the things that Zoran is promising that he cannot do, and that even if he could do it, it would destroy this city even faster. You know, most people don't know. Well, he has good intentions. And the most dangerous part of it all is that you have people who are so frustrated with the state of New York. So many people who are so frustrated with the system as it is that they're saying, you know what? Well, anything is better than this. And trust me, I understand. But the problem is, no, anything is not better than this because it can get worse. And I fear that we are setting ourselves up for the end game, where there's no turning back after this. It will be the complete destruction of New York. And I know it sounds, oh my God, why are you sounding so, what's the word? So hyperbolic. No hyperbole here. This will destroy the city of New York. It will. It literally will. And not even just the policies, right? Because I know that he's not going to be able to get half that shit done that he's talking about. He will be able to do the rent freeze, though. That's going to be devastating. Y'all just don't understand. But even if he cannot get half of the things done, it's just the stall. It's just the gridlock that is created in a time where so many people need a safety net. So many people need saving right now in this moment. It's going to destroy whatever remaining bit of the city that we have left. It's over. It's over. Wait, let me just put some of these comments here. Craig says, people are not necessarily voting for Zoran. They're voting for quote unquote change. Yes, they're voting for change and someone who is willing to challenge power. Yeah, but in that challenge of said power, how can you challenge power when you're willing to hand over all of your power to that to that same authority, to government? When you talk about the city footing the bill for everything, That's a very nice, clever way of convincing people to become dependent upon the government. That's ceding authority to the government under the guise of challenging the government. Do you understand what I'm trying to explain? Let me just talk to the TikTok folks. Do y'all understand what I'm saying here? It sounds good and it sounds revolutionary. We're going to stick it to the government. We're going to challenge power while ceding all authority to them. What are you talking about? We're going to leave it to them. Have them feed us. Have them house us. I mean, I can't ignore the statements that have been made by this man. He wants to decommodify housing and buy up public housing and turn it into community public housing. What? Do you know what decommodifying housing means? He wants to oh my God. Yo. He says he wants to seize the means of production. Hello? Do y'all know what communism is? Yo, it's crazy because people are like, oh, stop using that word, that tagline, that slur. It's communism. It literally is communism. Bro, I'm not being hyperbolic. It's communism. What's crazy is we now have people who are making excuses for it, and they're seeing this as some sort of a solution where it has failed everywhere across the world, every single attempt. I don't understand this. When has communism? Oh, here we go. Who you with? I can't pay attention to this dude. It's communism. See, that's the thing. That's the thing about communism, right? It's usually disguised as socialism, or socialism. It's like a soft. It's a soft catapult, a soft little bounce into communism. It all leads to the same place, and it leads to authoritarian control. There's no way out of it. You know what? As a matter of fact, let me do this. I'm going to pull up the definition of communism. I want you all, let's all walk through it together. Hold on. Oh, Lord. Let me see. Did I get it? Hold on. Okay, so let's go to the definition of communism. And I want to see what you all think. So communism is a socio-economic and political ideology that aims to establish a stateless, classless society with common ownership of the means of production. Seize the means of production. That came out of his own mouth. Distribution, like exchange, like grocery stores. It envisions a society where resources are allocated based on need, eliminating private property and social classes. What did he say? He wants to decommodify housing, buy up all of the private property and turn it into community housing, projects, government dependency. What am I getting wrong here? Communism is often associated with socialist movements and has various interpretations and implementations, including those influenced by Marxism, Leninism, and anarchism. I'm sorry, folks, but this country, you know, you could complain, say whatever you want about the United States of America, but this is still the wealthiest country in the history of the world. New York City is the wealthiest city in the history of the world. And everyone from across the world, they flock to New York. They flock to the United States for a reason. Does that mean I'm saying the United States or its government and its policies are perfect? No, not at all. But am I a capitalist? Yes, I am. I think the problem is people they've been they've been rightfully upset with crony capitalism. They've been rightfully upset with this oligarchical government that we have created, largely through this infusion of wealth, of money in politics, people buying their way into politics. Why don't we fix that instead of trying to create solutions where we give the government more power? More power. How can you complain about government, but then defer the solutions that you desire to said government? Think about that. How can you say, hey, you're doing me wrong? You're with an abuser, an abusive boyfriend, abusive husband, whatever, girlfriend, and they're treating you wrong. They're taking advantage of you. Whenever you go to work, or they're going and stealing money out your purse, doing whatever they're doing. But then when it's time for solutions, you defer to them to solve the problem. Not you of your own agency saying, you know what, enough is enough. I'm going to take charge. No, you want that person, that abuser, to have a bigger role in your life. That's what we're advocating for. And that's what socialism is, and absolutely communism. And I can't support that. I can't. So that's enough about Zohran Mamdani. Because I'm not going to just make this about him, because there's a lot of criticism to go around. And why don't we talk about this dude? This failure.
Debate playing out since Mamdani won that Democratic nomination. Good
Eric
morning. We're all trying to figure out where this is all headed.
Right.
We're looking at Poly Market. He is still up relative to you. I want to understand what you thought, what you were thinking. We all saw him come on, but really only come on hot 72 hours out, maybe a week out. And it sounds like you've been thinking about this a lot longer.
Yeah, and remember the Poly Markets also days out. It had Andrew above him. 6 months ago, I was in a restaurant and I heard two young people talking about Mamdani. And then I was in a store purchasing something. I heard two young college students saying the same thing. I went back to my team. I said, Zohan is going to win this race. And we strategically knew that we should not be in a crowded Democratic primary. And then I decided I was going to run on an independent line. And everyone thought it was hilarious. They said, what are you doing? No mayor could win. Who's left?
But look at that. Eric Adams is basically validating what we're saying here. The young people. It is the young people who are disenchanted, they're disillusioned, they're fed up, and they went out there and they made a statement when they voted for Zohran Mamdani. That's our fault. But does that mean we just lay down and allow them to make this huge mistake and trash the rest of what we have of a city of New York? No. But I think, what we saw during that primary was an indictment. It was an indictment of not only this administration and the prior administration, it's just our whole system of politics here in New York, which is a Democrat-run city, by the way.
Laughing now.
So I'm curious, I don't know if you want to say it. What do you see as your own personal challenges to win this race? I can give you my own list, but I'm curious when you look at this whole situation, your own situation, and what you need to persuade New Yorkers to vote for you, what do you see the thing that you need to overcome?
No, and I like that. Number one, Andrew. Andrew spent $30 million.
Andrew Cuomo.
Yes.
Okay.
Heard his narrative. I always say he didn't have the legs to run in New York. New York is a competitive place. They want to see you. You can't come out on weekends. You have to be firm. And I think he really should do an analysis and say, give Eric an opportunity to run against him.
So you would need him to get out for this to work?
He should. And the second is my story has never been told. People don't realize that we broke the record 11 times in jobs, that this is the strongest economy in the recorded history of the city. What we did around housing, the crime, removing 22,000 illegal guns off our street, 100,000 illegal vehicles off our street.
Hold on. So if you're a New Yorker out here, do you feel like this is the strongest economy in the history of New York City? Because from my understanding, about 60% of y'all can't even afford to live here. Is that a good thing, what Eric is saying right now?
12 months of Broadway has been the best Broadway in the recorded history of the city. My story has never been told. It was overshadowed by that lawfare of being prosecuted because I decided to defend the city. And now I'm going to have the opportunity to go to working class New Yorkers and say, think about this. We don't want to defund our police department. Right. We don't want to empty Rikers Island and have people go back into the communities that prosecute them.
I agree.
We don't want to have a city where we say we don't want billionaires in the city. I mean, just think about what we're saying.
Right. What do you tell New Yorkers who say, look,
honestly, I'm not a fan of Eric Adams, but he's right when he says that. Like, I mean, Mamdani has said that he doesn't even think billionaires should exist. What do you mean? People should not make a certain amount of money. Listen, if God wills it and I get wealthy and I become a multi-million, 100-millionaire, billionaire, you think I'm gonna say, let me give all that up because somebody believes that the work I put in, I should not get that. I should not be entitled to what I work for. Nah, bro. Why are we demonizing people for success? This doesn't mean that we're saying, oh, you should, they should get all of the perks and take advantage of poor people. I think this is a problem. This is a problem. What happened to self-agency? What happened to working for the things that you have and having pride in that? What happened to not always looking at everybody, not pocket watching everybody else and worrying about what you have and putting the work in for yourself? What happened to that? Why must we hate everyone that makes more than us and now we want to redistribute it back to us because we're entitled to it? Oh, you make more, you too rich. Give me that. Give me some of that. Those are the same, that's the same ideology that leads to people saying, oh, landlords are evil. How dare they charge us rent? That's criminal. What? Yo, when they passed the eviction moratoriums, you had these entitled people out there holding up signs saying landlords are criminals for collecting rent. What? Yo.
They're anxious about the settlement that you've reached with this president. They say you're being held hostage by this president, that if you're the mayor, if you continue to be the mayor, you have to listen to whatever this president says, because the moment you don't listen to the president, he can go after you again. And what do you say about the team around you? Because the other piece of this is trying to have an amazing team around you. And there have been concerns over right?
When you looked at how we turned around this city and going through COVID, going to 237 migrants in asylum.
What do you mean? How you got through COVID? How you turned the city around? What? By forcing private institutions to fire people who refuse to take the jab? By firing police officers and firefighters who didn't want to be experimented on? That's how you turn the city around? Oh, by the way, Zohran Mamdani, when asked about that, would he rehire those officers who were fired because they didn't comply with mandates? You know what he said? Nah, I'm not giving them their jobs back. What? All right.
Seekers dealing with the crime that we were facing, recovering our economy. When you look at that team won. That team was successful. Now look at my team now. Randy Mastro is my first deputy. People got used to working at homes. They know how I worked, had to deliver for the city, and I did it in spite of what we had to go through.
What about the affordability message that Mamdani has put out there? Now, look, The truth is, there's a lot of things he said that he can't actually do. Things that you have said and I think described.
Right.
But the question is, how do you reach those voters who say, yeah, there's an affordability issue, and what are you going to do, and what are you going to tell those people
what are you gonna
that
do,
you
Eric?
can
Great
fix?
question. Legitimate concerns about affordability, not only in the city, in the country. Everyone can talk about the prices that we're dealing with, purchasing basic things. And we got that. We heard that message. I know we're living in poverty. He knows we're living in luxury, actually is. I know living on the verge of homelessness. I know struggling every day, going to school with a garbage bag full of clothing, afraid you're going to be thrown out. That's my story. That is not his story.
Yeah, but I actually think that makes it even more egregious on the part of Eric Adams, who comes from, according to him, poverty and the utter betrayal that he has committed against people who are struggling in New York City. That's not a flex, bro. What you saying? That's not a flex. Like that bullshit that you saying. I mean, let's be real. Everybody knows that you're bought and sold. You're paid for. Everybody knows that you don't really care about the people on the ground. You don't care about that. You only answer to your donors. We know that already. We know that you're extremely petty. We know that you don't answer the direct concerns of your constituents, and that if like lobbyists, if they don't like the shit that you're saying, they slap you right back in line. Like the HTC that has been behind every freaking mayor that got elected. They are now behind Zohran Mamdani, which is interesting because the hotel industry has had a powerful grip on Eric Adams. And I'm surprised because with all of the handouts that he gave to the hotel industry during this administration, I think it's crazy that the HTC didn't endorse him again. But it looks like they probably just read the room and they decided that, well, then again, Zohran is anti-homeownership. I know he doesn't say it, but he does kind of say it, because when you say you want to decommodify housing, what does that mean? Remove all profit incentive from purchasing private property? So what? Real estate investment should not exist unless it's the wealthiest on top that you can tax 2% while ruining everyone else and running them out of their homes so developers can come in and replace them? What exactly are your policies here? Eric, what are your policies here? Because I know that the current Adams administration has been extremely hostile towards private homeowners or has outright ignored us when we brought our concerns to him. Now, one thing I know as a private homeowner in New York City, especially if you own a one family or a two family home, those are private dwellings under state law. Those are that's a protected class of homeowner. That means this is our primary residence. This is where we live. That means stay out of our damn business. Bro, they pass all types of laws, hitting us with all types of regulations and restrictions and fines and violations. If you want to host people, like, with like, let's say Airbnb or VRBO, or if you just want to do it yourself privately, they basically criminalized that shit while giving carte blanche to people who own big buildings with mad apartments in it and luxury condos, who are charging thousands of dollars a night for people to come and stay, and tourists to come and stay in those places. But when you got, I don't know, Miss Millie, who lives in a two family in I don't know, in Canarsie or in Crown Heights somewhere, and she wants to host some guests, some tourists that come from another city on her first floor apartment or upstairs, charging $89 a night, they'll hit her with a $5,000 to $10,000 fine. And these are people who are trying their best to supplement their fixed income in many cases, because a lot of these people are elderly or people who own their homes. They're working. They still can't survive. Property taxes are up. Utilities are up. Do you know how much my light bill is, y'all? $600 a month, $500 to $600 a month. And so you have people out here who are trying to supplement their income by home sharing. Y'all know home sharing, Airbnb. Bro, they made the rules so crazy that if you do it, they're literally sending out investigators to your home to harass you, to harass your Airbnb guests if you have guests, to try to catch them. They ask them a bunch of questions, interrogate them like they're the police, just so they can hit you with some kind of a fine. Now you owe $5,000 because you hosted a couple for 2 days for $140. This is under the mayor's office of special enforcement. Eric Adams, that guy, the mayor's office of special enforcement. You care about the middle class? Fuck out of here. That bullshit.
He's a academic elitist that comes with these philosophies and principles that don't work out on ground. The foundation of him paying.
I don't want to hear this fool no more. You know what? And that's another, yo, bro, when you really think about that shit, why did Eric do this? Why are our local elected officials doing this shit to us? You know why? Because if you go and you look at their campaign contributions and you see who was out there stumping for them, had volunteers for them, it was the HTC, the Hotel Trades Council, the hotel unions. It's the hotel industry that has put your elected officials in office. They answer, your elected officials, your city council members, your mayor, they answer to the HTC. They answer to the hotel lobby, not you. Just imagine, like, is there a lobbyist group? Do you know why they don't listen to you? Because there's no lobbyist group for constituents. You're just constituents. Who the fuck cares about you? They would rather answer to the people who are paying them. They don't listen to you. But we're supposed to just sit back here and just, virtue. We love you. And no, why the fuck should I even be begging you guys to do your jobs? And there's one thing I'm going to say, because word up, like, let me tell you something. Y'all don't have to like my politics. You don't have to like me. I don't care. But there are very few, there's a tiny few people who are in office, in elected office today, who actually care about their constituents. A very small minority of them. And honestly, I'm thankful to say that my city council member, Chris Banks, here in District 42, East New York, Brooklyn, he actually cares about his he's actually been out here doing the work before he became a city council member. I remember watching Chris for years, running time and time again to get that. He finally made it. Well deserved. I'm very critical of our elected officials. And while we may not agree on everything, one thing I can say is that my city council member, he has integrity. City council member Mercedes Narcisse, she has integrity. She's the one who's literally sponsoring the bill that we have in the city council right now, that so many of our legislators are ignoring. Why? Just look at their campaign contributions. But guess what? Okay, the election is over because they all made sure to ignore us during campaign season because no one wants to touch anything controversial. I don't understand how it's controversial to want to help your constituents remain in their homes. But okay, let's see if this bill gets to a hearing in September. That's when you know. But I know one thing, the writing is on the wall. And you know what? I'll just get right to it. When I look at the options, when I look at the choices that we have for mayor of this city, we have a very poor pool. We have a very poor selection here. Zoran Mamdani, he's young. He's a fresh new face. I get it. But one, he doesn't have the experience. Two, he does not have the policy at all. Three, I don't trust him. I'm sorry. I don't. Because if you look at his record and you look at the people who support him, you cannot continue to divorce people from their own words because based on your hope that they didn't mean it that way. You know what I'm saying? Don't let your desire for them to be what you want them to be supersede what your eyes are showing you, the reality that is in front of you. Because I think that's what's happening in the case of Zohran Mamdani. I can't. Eric Adams, I can't survive another Eric Adams administration, and I know a hell of a lot of people who can't either. Andrew Cuomo, I think he's so fucking arrogant. I don't think Andrew Cuomo gives one shit about New York City. I think Andrew Cuomo is only interested in getting back into politics so he can run for president. That's it. I don't trust any of these people to even hear the concerns of struggling middle class New Yorkers. But guess who does? Guess who actually speaks to the concerns? Curtis Sliwa, the Republican candidate. In a sea of all these Democrats and the left and independents, the one person who's actually speaking logically to the policies is Curtis Sliwa. Probably most of y'all don't even know who Curtis Sliwa is. But he's a Republican candidate who is actually running on policies that make sense for all New Yorkers. You're talking about economic policy, feeling the hurt. He's actually offering tangible solutions to the overdevelopment of our neighborhoods. I mean, we have a housing shortage in New York City for a reason, folks. Their solution, see, this is the problem. The solution that Democrats here in New York City have is always more money. Spend more money. More money. Even when they give all these tax incentives to these developers, what do you think? That's still more money. It's more money out your pocket. More of a burden on you. Especially private homeowners. It's more money in your property taxes. So their solution is build more, build more, build more housing, charge more taxes, build more. Eliminate zoning requirements. Now, I understand deregulation, but what they're doing here in New York City right now is reckless as hell. It is reckless. They're just ignoring rules where it's convenient for them, but the rules that really make no sense, that are actually barring middle-class New Yorkers from getting ahead, they leave those intact. It's like how many hostile policies do they have to pass that are harmful to you before you admit that these people, they don't care? They're not representing your interests. So yeah, let me give this dude like, I don't know, a minute or two more.
Money back in the pockets of working class people, I know how to do. So finding ways as the mayor to put money back in the pockets of working class people, I know how to do.
No, you don't. You're stopping us from doing that. See, bro, this is the thing with politics. All they do is lie. They lie.
He does it. This is a class exercise. Right now, we need expertise that we don't lose the success we made in this city.
Have you spoken to Andrew Cuomo at all?
Yeah, I'm done with Eric. I can't. I can't. I'm done with this dude. Where is the I wanted to show you guys. Hold on. I wanted to show you guys oh, here it is. Let me see. Is there a way of me showing this to you? Okay, so they just recently did a poll. Oh, you know what? I think I can just pull it up. Hold on. Interactive polls, New York. 1 second, y'all. What is it called? Interactive polls, New York City Mayoral. Okay. Active polls, New York City Mayoral. Oh, damn, I can't find it. You know, I had it earlier. I can't find it. Damn. Is there a way for me to show this to you guys? Let me see if there's a way of doing it. Oh, yeah, I can. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. All right, here you go. Sorry. All right. So this is the current polling in the New York City mayoral race. Zohran Mamdani is polling at 35%, first place. Andrew Cuomo is polling in second place at 25%. And notice, this is with Andrew Cuomo doing no campaigning, no nothing. Ain't nobody seen Andrew Cuomo out here in these streets. Curtis, number 3, 14%. Number 3, Curtis Sliwa. Number 4, Eric Adams at 11%. Undecided is 13%. Eric Adams is polling at the bottom of 5 choices, where the choice above him is undecided. And above that, number 3 is Curtis Sliwa. So when people tell me that Curtis Sliwa doesn't have a chance, I can't listen to that, man. I just think, listen, when we learn to abandon the partisanship and we just vote based on policy, I think we'll do so much better as a city and as a society. We have to let go of this hyper partisanship and this virtue, these politics of virtue that lead us to constantly vote against our best interest because we think that we're being good people. You know, when you decide, when you conduct your politics through emotion, you're usually, quite more often than not, you're going to make a bad decision. You're going to make a bad decision. And I think one of the most toxic things that we face today in our politics is social media, bro. Social media is a horrible place. It really is. You know, and we've become so dependent upon social media to inform us. We're not living in the real world. When we get out into the real world, we're just so miserable and disgruntled that we just want to hurry up and run back to our devices and just go to those echo chambers that we feel comfortable in. That's why it's better. You got to go out there. You got to live your life in the real world, but you got to get educated politically. You have to. We have that responsibility now. I mean, over the years, you know, there was a time when we could just kind of sit back and we figured our parents got this, or, oh, it's not a big deal, I'm just going to work. No, we all have a moral obligation now to get involved, to do our research and learn policy, ask questions. I think the biggest thing that you can do, the most valuable thing that you can do is to ask questions. Always question what you've been taught, because and you don't have to disagree with what you're being taught, but you have to always question it, because if you don't question it, you're just a mouthpiece for somebody else's perspective, somebody else's point of view, or somebody else's agenda. You have to think, and you have to stop defaulting to people who you deem as authorities over you for your opinions. Because most of the people who have opinions today, they don't even realize or understand that those opinions and perspectives have simply been spoon-fed to them. And how do you know this? All you have to do is ask them to explain why they feel the way they do. And most times they cannot articulate that to you. How many people actually read legislation? How many people go to Congress, you know, the congress.gov, or go to government websites to actually look at the language? In most of these articles that are telling you what to think, what to be mad at, all they're doing is they're giving you their version of what you could be reading and researching yourself. That's how I know that 90% of the shit that you guys see in the media, it's a lie. So when are we going to take the onus? When are we going to take the responsibility to inform ourselves and be proactive in holding our elected officials accountable and actually changing our entire political and social dynamic, change the whole system, change our culture of laziness and entitlement, which is what leads to politics, to socialist politics. You know, there was a time when I was a Democrat when the word socialist was just a slur. Communist was just a slur. But I never really understood what those words meant. I knew the kind of the connotation behind it, but I didn't really understand what it meant. But I encourage you guys to really do your digging and just research, look into Marxism, look into socialism, and definitely look into communism. So when I say that Zoran Mamdani, he's a communist, I'll say that he espouses a lot of communist views. That's a fact. That's not to insult him. It's just a fact. Communism does not work. And it especially does not and will not work in the United States of America. So y'all gonna have to take that how you want to take it. But I'm gonna tell you this, y'all. New York, I don't know. I'm born and raised New York City. This has always been the city that I love. You know what I'm saying? I've seen its ups and downs, but I always love my city. But this is not my city anymore. And I'm trying to save it. But imagine what it's like when you see the truth, when you see something, that this glaring truth that is so obvious to you, but it seems like everyone around you is blind or everyone is deaf. And you're screaming, hey, everybody, listen, look, I'm showing you this. Listen, stop, turn back. And everyone is ignoring you. It's like we're heading towards a cliff and someone else is at the wheel. And I'm screaming, please stop. Just wait, hit the brakes. And not only the driver, but all of the passengers in the car, they're telling me, shut up, Tony. I'm trying to reach for the steering wheel and say, no, change course. And they're yoking me up in the back. They're telling me, no, leave them alone. We're going. Meanwhile, we're careening towards the cliff. And everyone is stopping me from stopping the driver. That's what it's like living in New York City right now with our politics. Craig, you say capitalism is not working either, so we can just sound the alarm on social capitalism. No, Craig, it's crony capitalism. No, we'll get into that topic on a TikTok live, but no, Craig, that's wrong. What you're saying, but yeah. So, folks, I've been on here for, I don't know, maybe an hour. So I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys a little bit about that. I know I've been on here for a minute. I'm going to, I guess, go over to TikTok for a second, not much longer. But I appreciate you guys for joining me. I don't know. I see there's like 100 and something people who's in here. I haven't been on here for a minute, but I'm going to start doing more podcasts more regularly. Wait. Oh, shit. Instagram. Oh, what? Wait, they kicked me from Instagram? Hold on. Let me see. Oh, my God. All right. So, yeah. So, it looks like Meta has me completely banned. So, when I go live, I can't go live on Facebook and Instagram now. So, any Meta platform, I'm not live on there. You can't see me there anymore. So, it's X, YouTube, and Rumble. That's it. X, YouTube, and Rumble. You know what? That's cool for me, to be honest with you. Because you know, most people can't see me over there anyway. Hold on one second. Hold on. Yeah. All right. So anyway, folks, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you guys. I'll come back again very soon. You guys will start seeing more episodes. But like I said, always ask questions, folks. Don't accept things at face value, because if you don't ask those questions, like I said, you're a mouthpiece for someone else's point of view. Thank you for joining me. I'm Tony Lindsay. This is We Need to Talk with Tony Lindsay, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.